Mark Ossigator from Death Angel, coming to you with this week's fan Q&A from Lorelei the Rock in Germany.
Mark, is that a beer you're drinking?
It is. Pretty rare I'm drinking a beer, but I'm in Germany, obviously. 5.0.
That's Belgium.
Is it Belgian beer? No. Oh my! I'm like, look at this! Look at this!
That's the German.
I was about to say, the Heimat. I know the colors. I know the German colors. White. Anyway. Anyway, look at that, huh? One of the most beautiful spots I've ever been to in Germany. Anyway, and I've been to some pretty special spots in Germany. All right, this comes from Jason from the Missoula, Montana, I guess. United States. Question for me. Your voice is insane. Thank you. And I mean that in the best way possible. You said a couple of times on Fan Q&A that when you left the band in 1991, you would close the book on it completely. What was it that turned you off of the music / or the band so effectively? And part 2, what happened during the Thrash of the Titans performance that made you realize it was time to do it again? Well, what happened to make it close the book entirely would probably be, at the time in the 80s, the music industry itself. And it was just an odd time to be in the music industry. I think it was the tail end of the whole 1950s through 1980s music scene where, you know, the record companies were in control and a lot of artists weren't making music off of making money off the music they were selling, but they were generating a lot of money. And unfortunately, it was really rough on the artist to survive. And so I got caught up in that whole thing, and it started making me a little bitter. Not only just me, but everyone in the band Death Angel. And at the culmination of that being that we signed a bunch of things we shouldn't have when we were really young, with different people from, you name it, publishing to merchandise to everything, just a lot of bad choices, but not even bad choices, just ignorant decisions, because we had never been involved in the music industry, and that's what the music industry presented to us, and we thought, hell, as long as we can get out there and travel and play music, we're you know, on the upside. But that's not the case when you're trying to make a living off of it. At the height of all that bullshit, we got in a big bus accident, and pretty much when I came out of the clarity of the shock of that bus accident, I knew from that moment, as soon as I came out of the clarity, that I was done. And that closed the book entirely on music for me. For a while, I thought for sure on Death Angel. I thought. What was it about the Thrash of the Titans gig that made me change my mind? The absolute perfect feeling I had not felt since I was riding on the high of being in Death Angel in the 80s and 1990. And I hadn't felt that feeling ever since we set foot on stage at that Thrash the Titans show. And I knew from 2 minutes in that I didn't want to give it up ever again. Although it was supposed to be a one-off gig, it snowballed into what it was supposed to be. And here it is, Jesus. 11 years later? 11 years later, look at that. And we're doing it, and I wouldn't give this up for anything, because music and my immediate family are pretty much the only thing that have never let me down. So, there you have it. All the best from this fucking place.
Hey, what's up? It's Rob. Q&A. This question is from Jason. From Jason in the United States. Missoula, Montana. Alright. Jason. You're asking a long question, brother. But I'm gonna read it. I am going to read it from Germany, West Germany, by the Rhine River. All right, Rob, you might hear this a lot, but both Stagnant and Discontinued literally changed my life in high school. The spirit of originality and incorporating unlikely influences in the songs have really shaped my life as a writer and journalist. Oh. Can you tell us about writing those songs? I imagine it took some courage to write and release songs that were so unconventional, especially in pre-Black Album 1990. It was 89, actually. Do you see the band incorporating more experimental influences again in the future? Personally, I'm mixed about that. I'm curious to see what would happen, but your albums have been only getting better. Jason from Montana. Originally from the Navajo Nation, where I interviewed you once on the Killing Season tour. Navajo Nation. Yeah! Yeah! Come on, Lemerald! Okay, so I'm gonna have to answer that in parts. It's pretty epic. Stagnant and Discontinued. Okay, so for one thing, I can really only answer about. I mean, Stagnant. Andy wrote the lyrics of Discontinued. So, but you know, in the end, we were kind of coming from the same place, really, which is by the time we were writing and recording Act 3, you know, for how young we were, we had been through so much, and it was really hard to process everything. But we were just dealing with it and living our lives on tour and in the studio and in the rehearsal studio and just working on music nonstop at such a young age, to the point where I think it just built up to where, you know, when we did Act 3, we were just we were no longer trying to write songs, you know, just like about, nothing wrong with it, but you know, about evil priests and voracious souls. We were into writing stuff about things that were affecting our lives directly and expressing ourselves in whatever we were going through, which is, you know, basically what you should do and what we do in music anyway. So we were older than in the beginning, and we had progressed that way, and we were expressing it in our music, and that's basically what it was. And you know, these are just the lyrics, and the songs are, you can just see in the lyrics, those two songs especially, it's basically about, you know, going through heavy shit. And it's just the pain that you feel and confusion and intense emotions that you go through when you're going through stuff like we were going through, which is trying to live in a rock and roll world barely out of high school. And so that's where the, you know, that's where it comes from. That's where the influence, and even till this day, I mean, it's basically our main influence is that, and it comes out in various ways of, you know, from angry songs to whatever, man. It's just expressing yourself fully, like you're doing your own kung fu. Took some courage. Yeah, I mean, you know, we put those songs out pre-Black Album, as you pointed out, but at that point too, we were totally expanding the kind of music we were listening to. Our influences were getting much more diverse. We were really getting into Queen and Zeppelin albums and Old Sabbath albums, which had a lot of diverse music on them. They're heavy, but at the same time, they're heavy in ways with acoustic stuff and with, you know, just lighter sounding but dark passages, and then back into the metal. So that was definitely creeping into our influence. And do I see us incorporating more experimental influences again in the future? That's a good question. I do see that it could always happen, because we don't pre-plan whatever we're going to be doing next. Once we do one album, we live it and we tour for it, and then we just do the next album where we're at right there in life at that point in time. So we never know what the future holds for us. But currently, we are writing for our next album, and I'll say that right now we're not really incorporating all kind of whacked out influences in our music. No. If so, they're coming in a more subliminal way, but our album's gonna be definitely heavy, fast, total thrash, and interesting and musical, but not necessarily experimental. All right, and okay, that's about it. Fucking right on, brother. Oh! Whoa! Oh. I'm gonna see my name. Oh shit, dude.
That was perfect.